Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sounds of the Diaspora, Artist to Artist, a conversation with Dion Parson. And man, I'm so excited to be featuring our guest tonight, someone I've known for many years, and this gentleman have been doing his thing in New Orleans and around the world, and he's going to tell you his story. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Delfeayo Marsalis to Sounds of the Diaspora.
What's going on, bro?
I'm good. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm all right. The bad hair day, but other than that,
we have those sometimes, you know.
yeah, I see. Yours
Yeah.
look pretty good though. You look like you got it pretty tight.
Hey, well, I try to keep it tight, but every once in a while, things, you don't always have a handle on it, but it's all good, man. Good to see you, bro.
You too, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, definitely. How are things in New Orleans?
Yeah, everything is cool. New Orleans, man. I'd say I always make the parallel between New Orleans and jazz because they always try to say Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans is about to disappear. Then we have this other thing they say New Orleans is about to. It's like jazz, It's a survival music. New Orleans is a survival city. That's why jazz comes from New Orleans.
Yeah.
So, New Orleans is a lot like the music too. It
Right.
becomes what the country needs it to be.
Right.
That's my feeling about it. And I think the music, it kind of becomes what the not only the country but the world needs it to be. So at any rate, New Orleans is great.
Great. Well, man, we're really excited and happy to have you on the show. And you're an icon out here. You've been doing it for many, many years, man. You come from a musical family, and we're interested in your story. So, I mean, Sounds of the Diaspora is a platform for artists to tell their story to our listeners around the world. And I'm sure a lot of them know who Delfeayo Marsalis is, but just briefly share your musical upbringing, and then we'll jump into your career and stuff like that. Just if you don't mind, just sharing some of that with us.
Yeah, started playing trombone in the 6th grade. And, as I recall it, it was just something that we were doing. And I did know that my dad played piano at the time. Branford was playing sax and went on trumpet, but it wasn't really any kind of a real plan. I saw the trombone. I said, "Oh, this looks kind of different. Let me just try to pick that up." And but I'd been playing 2 years. Branford and Went were in a funk band called the Creators, and they were the only band in the city that played the Earth, Wind and Fire charts, which was something because they were still in high school, and even the guys who were older, you'd usually be like college age students at the time. But over the years, they've told me, they said, man, that was, even with them in high school, they were the only band that could play like the Earth, Wind and Fire chart. So at any rate, I've been playing the horn for maybe 1 or 2 years, and went like, man, come learn this Earth, Wind and Fire lick. It was like I just barely knew the scales. But, so we didn't really get a chance to play together from that capacity. But around the house, I was always recording them, and I was kind of the one selected to press the red button when it was time to record. And that's pretty much how I got into production. And after that, so I went to New Orleans Center for Creative Arts. I was studying to be a classical trombonist. So my early years were more playing classical music. And then I ended up going to Berkeley. I had a scholarship to Boston University. But there's a fellow, I don't know if you remember Chris Holliday. He's a sax player. He has a brother named Richard Holliday. We were in the McDonald's All-American band together. And
you were in that band?
I was in 83.
What year were you in that band?
I was in 83.
83. I was in there. Wow. I was in there 84, 85 with Cone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I didn't know you were in that band.
83, I was in the band, but Richard Holliday was the one that convinced me 2 weeks before school started to not go to Boston University and just go to Berkeley. He was like, man, you don't want to play that classical crap. Come to Berkeley. Okay. And so, that was good for me. I wasn't really that close to Branford at the time. I was closer with Winton growing up. But at that point, that's when I got to I was more close with Branford because he was a Berkeley alum and he called some of his boys and he kind of got everything set up. And so, man, that was 83. I produced my first record that summer before I went off for my dad. I was 17 years old. It was his recording, Syndrome. And then, went to Berkeley, studied music production engineering. Branford gave me my first big shot in the big leagues. That was 1985, 86. It was 1986. Royal Garden Blues. I was 20 years old, and I've been doing it, ever since.
And I'm glad you talked about the production side, because I was going to bring that up. A lot of folks know you as a trombonist playing out here doing your thing and having your Uptown Jazz Orchestra, but the production side behind the scenes, you've produced over 100 recordings, and I mean, basically that's like a really full-time gig on that level for you, on top of playing. I mean, how do you
I don't produce so much anymore. I mean, the whole industry has changed, but I was in it at a great time. It was just as analog was converting to digital. Mm-hmm. So we were I'm a big fan of technology and figuring out how to use the technology, but mostly so that no one knows you're using the technology. Yeah. See, that's the key to it. Yeah. So, man, I've done recordings that you wouldn't even imagine. I see, 144 edits on this particular recording, or I might have 180 edits. But that's the thing to me is, and I've appreciated over the years when I've had the opportunity to work with older musicians. I think Trio GP, Branford's recording that featured Milt Hinton, which kind of was my idea anyway, but that was to me a very important record, because when I worked with the older musicians, I always felt that's what my study and my training was to help these older musicians, or to really document them. I mean, they didn't really necessarily need my help in the recording of what they were in terms of what they were playing, but to really document them. And Milt Hinton said that was probably the best bass sound he had ever heard on himself, Trio GP. So I wanted that to be an analog record, man, but the studio, it's a long story, but it was digital. And I think it really sounds good, man. But if I could have got them to do that analog recording, it would have been, I think, really, really spectacular.
Well, great stuff, man. And thank you for documenting the judge, Milt Hinton. I mean, legacy right there. That's some privileged stuff right there to combine the new generation with the older generation. I think at that time when Winton and Branford, were coming on the scene and playing with Art Blakey and all of that, it really did a lot to revitalize the music and make cats like myself, who were, I was not privy to a lot of the scene at the time, but following those cats, I learned a lot, about the heritage and the evolution of the music and stuff like that. So you being part of that from the recording side helped to make that happen. So thank you for being that person, man. Appreciate it.
I was just kind of in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And I think Trio GP was the one. If you listen at recordings done in 1988 and then recordings done in 1990 by the same bands, that's when you can really hear the difference, because just everything changed after that recording. Not only the way that the bassist kind of approached recording, but even the bass direct, the sound of the bass direct got better. And maybe some of that was coincidental, but I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, we had to accept, okay, the bass director is going to be here, but how do we just get a better sound out of it? So I think you look at some of those recordings from the late 70s and early 80s, sounds like rubber bands. You almost never hear that anymore. But you didn't hear very much after that recording. So I was glad to be there and able to be a part of what was going on.
Great. And so as a producer, you did your thing. You say you're not doing much of that anymore, but you have a really great ensemble besides your personal band, your quartet, and the wonderful musicians you're touring with. You have a really great ensemble, the Uptown Jazz Ensemble that you have, which is kind of like a platform for bringing up musicians as well. Some of your proteges have talked highly of the group and said they just got thrown in their place and in a chair as a teenager, and you was like, hey man, let's go. You're in the big league now, man. Tell us about the inception of that group and what the mission of that group is.
Well, I've been fortunate over the years, and I would say that I've had the kind of the incubator band for lots of the folks that were going to become really great, musicians. Brian Blade was in my band when Harry Connick first heard him and took him to New York. Nicholas Payton, who I really just went and was like as a favor, because I told him I didn't really like to hire trumpet players. But Nicholas Payton, he'll say that his first gig was with Elvin, which I don't blame him for saying that. Yeah. But he played with my band in New Orleans. Victor Atkins, of course. Mark Turner is another. Josh Redmond spent some time with me. So it's a long, it's a pretty lengthy list of fellas over the years. The Uptown Jazz Orchestra, really how it happened was I was hired by another band to play second or third trombone, Ellington's Nutcracker Suite. I think that was 2006. It was right after Hurricane Katrina, so I'm pretty sure it was 2006. And the band, we rehearsed 2 or 3 rehearsals and we played it. And the music didn't really have the right spirit to me. It had, these guys that could read and they were playing the notes correctly, I guess you could say that. But after that, I told Marlon Jordan, I talked to him right after that. I said, man, I'm gonna get my own band together. And just for the sake of playing Ellington's Nutcracker, Ellington and Strayhorn,
right?
The Tchaikovsky Nutcracker Suite. So that really was the intent of the band at the time. So I started calling around guys. And guys in New Orleans, man, they can play, but maybe they haven't read music in 15, 20 years. Or they were never really good at reading music, because in New Orleans, you don't really need to read music. So the group that I got, it was a mixture of readers and not so good readers. And man, we rehearsed for like 4 months. We started, I think August or September, we started rehearsing. And at the end of that 4 months, oh boy, that band was swinging. I mean, it was terrible. And we did played in the schools. Even my dad was like, because my dad, boy, he's hard getting any kind of a compliment from him.
Yeah.
He just said, yeah, man. That was it. I knew. That was okay. That was
it, right? That was a thumbs up.
I was gonna get, because he played with the band early on. He was part of it. And it's a strange piece because there's not a lot of piano. The Nutcracker, there's not much going on for the piano. But we take liberties. So then, at any rate, the gigs were over, and then Marlon Jordan, I don't know if you know, Marlon's a great trumpeter. And Marlon said, he said, what you gonna do now? I said, man, we ain't gonna do nothing now. He's like, man, you might as well keep the band going. I was like, oh Lord have mercy. And that's it. So here we are 16, 17 years later, whatever the math on it is. And that's how it started. But two of my biggest ventures, that and the Uptown Music Theatre, which has to do with kids, they both started the same way. Just like with the Uptown Music Theatre, the kids just kept calling me and asking me to start my own musical theater program, because I worked with a different program. And after 3 years, I said, all right, man, we're going to just do it. So it's literally like, I just on a whim. It's not like I really had a long-term plan, like this is what we're going to do. And just said, man, it's something that needed to happen. So I made it happen.
Great. And again, man, thank you for the great work you're doing, because you've put some really, helped to put some great musicians out there, And I mean, with Nicholas Payton saying that Elvin was his first gig, well, you played with Elvin, so, it's like full circle.
It's funny. I played Yoshi's recently, and I realized that I played with 3 of the great drummers in the history of the world, Art Blakey, Elvin Jones, and Max Roach, all of which I played with on the stage at Yoshi's. So with Blakey, it was the original Yoshi's, and with Elvin and Max, it was with the newer Yoshi's, which is in Oakland. But I hadn't realized that, and it's just it's funny to me now. Is like when I was in the band, in their bands, it didn't occur to me that I would serve a similar function to what they served in the music, in terms of trying to hire the younger musicians and trying to instill certain things. I think that's really something that Elvin was trying to prepare me more so. A lot of people think about those gigs like, man, this cat's playing, you got to play a certain amount and you got to this and that. But I think Elvin was looking more down the road than even I was. Right. What that training would do for me potentially as I move forward into leading other bands and leading other youngsters. So I'm trying to impart certain information to them as much as I can, but I think we all have to help out where we can.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned in Elvin and giving you that information and that mentorship also, but I mean, you came from a family of musicians, and your father has been hailed as one of the greatest educators out here. He's mentored so many folks, man. And I know folks that moved to New Orleans just to study with him. So the influence was like right there as well. How much of an impact do you think, you, as well as playing with all of those great musicians, but how much of an impact you think your father was in that regards, you being an educator and mentor as well?
Well, I'm trying to be more like my dad as I get older.
Okay.
What made my dad the great teacher was that he didn't really care a certain kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
By that, what I mean is he just provided you with the information in a platform. He wasn't hung up on whether or not you got the information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost like, it's funny. It's like, and I hadn't thought of this before. It's almost like how children respond. Like, for example, you have a little child and the child falls down. And then maybe the mom comes in, oh, my baby. She starts to understand the baby's crying, blah, 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 blah. Whereas the dad might just be like, boy, get up.
Mm-hmm.
And the baby like, okay, well, that's not going to get me anywhere. So I know not to try that path.
Yeah.
My dad was with students, man. He wasn't hung up on it.
Right.
Man, this is something you should check out. Now, if you didn't check it out, you just didn't check it out. He wasn't coming behind you. Man, I told you should have done this. And if you'd done this, then you'd have this together. And he was like, okay. You know, I mean,
They said that's on you. If you don't check it out, that's on you. Yeah.
Man, it's just such a great approach. And I'm actually, in a certain respect, more like my mom. She would be the one to be always on you. Like, why did you do this? Why? Trying to be like my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm having an opportunity, actually, with a couple of youngsters in the band, because if they don't ask me, I don't. There's one young man, and he was going through some tough times, and rather than call him and give him advice, I called up and said, see if he's available, and
right.
He became available for the work, and I'm thinking that's going to be better than me trying to give him advice.
Mm-hmm.
It's him being around the Uptown Jazz Orchestra, and you know, it's a collection of grown men, and we have the one young lady that plays. We have a couple of young ladies that play with us actually on bass, but consistently it's like a collection of mostly grown men. And the other part that I'm realizing is that we grew into adulthood under the guys in the leadership of men like Art Blakey and like Elvin Jones. Mm-hmm. And I remember asking Ron Carter about playing in the quintet with Miles and Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter and Tony Williams. And Ron Carter said, well, he said, I wasn't so concerned musically. He said, my concern was getting Tony from 17 to 18 and from 18 to 19.
Yeah.
And wow. It's like, so that's the big thing for me now and a big band is difficult. A number of things are difficult about the Uptown Jazz Orchestra. The first thing is everybody gets a chance to solo. Mm-hmm. So I have to set everyone up. To me, it's better to set everyone up the place where they feel the most comfortable. Now, maybe they want to do something else. It's something else. I look at my dad, because I always like to burn out, to play really fast. Not so much anymore. But my dad would always be like, man, you need to just play in the pocket. Mm-hmm. I'd always want to get that energy going. But I'm just saying that to say, when you have a collection of this many people, the difficulties are, one, being able to showcase everybody, and two, putting everyone in the best possible place to be themselves.
Right.
It reminds me what Jimmy Owens said about Duke Ellington, and he said he took the place of Cat Anderson. So
okay.
Cat left the band. I'm pretty sure it was Jimmy Owens. So, but the story goes, because I'm pretty sure it's Jimmy Owens, because I remember telling him, I said, man, I heard this story that when you got the gig with Duke Ellington, you took Cat Anderson's place, and you told Duke Ellington, man, I can't play like Cat Anderson. And Duke Ellington said to you, I forget what I told him, but he said, no, Duke Ellington said, just be yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's the key.
Yeah.
I think I may have said, just play like you play, or play like yourself. He said, no, Duke Ellington said, just be yourself. And I mean, that's profound. That's a profound part of the music that I think we're losing, is that concept of actually be yourself. And nowadays I find a lot of players, they're more interested in what what they know. I say without fail, if I give somebody a chance, they're going to sit in with the band and they have a choice between maybe playing a funky blues, a tune like, Inner Urge, or one of these, they're going to pick Inner Urge all of the time. And I mean, that's a kind of a music student thing. But I think that you have to have a, a well-rounded kind of a book and vocabulary. Sorry, I'm kind of going off to.
No, it's all good, man. Because being a band leader is it's a challenge. You gotta figure that out with a big band and the type of platform that you have featuring everyone. That's a task in itself. When you got 16, 18 people in the group, I mean, you got to figure that out every night, how to present everyone versus having a book that just you have a featured soloist, a lead trumpet player, where everybody's playing their part. So I commend you for that because it's a different approach to leading a group as well. Not every big band cats get the solo.
Well, yeah, it's different. Only in New Orleans could we do it the way we do it. We'll play a gig. Man, we just played a festival. I think we read 2 songs. We played for an hour and we might have read 2 songs.
Right.
But we literally could play. I mean, that's the brass band. I mean, it's all the same to me. When I was coming up, there was this big thing about, man, you got to be serious and you got to be true to the music and you just have to love the music. Make sure the people are having a good time. That's the key to the band, really, is that people come in there enjoy themselves. Right. I think jazz kind of has gotten that reputation. It's just too much baggage. People come to that. They think that like they're gonna be checking out some kind of a lecture in advanced trigonometry or something. So, really, they come to the gates. Man, I never knew jazz could be this much fun. Now, granted, what I consider jazz, we might play. That might be 10 or 15% of our gigs. But I'm not hung up on whether or not I'm playing jazz. I know what it is.
Right.
I don't get hung up on it. Another reason people like the band, half the band really they're like R&B musicians.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the mindset is different. Somebody calls you and says, "Hey man, I want you to play this jazz gig." Okay, you got one mindset. It almost doesn't matter if they don't tell you anything about what you're playing.
Right.
They just say, "Hey, I wonder how you." Okay, you have a certain mindset. Somebody calls you and says, "Hey man, I want you to play this R&B funk gig." Your mindset is immediately different. Right. The whole mindset is, and that's how we approach it. The mindset is, man, we're an R&B band, we're a funk band.
Right.
And when we go to the jazz, when we go to the swing, it's like my vibe with especially, the drummers, it's always like the swing got to be the most real thing you have ever played. Mm-hmm. So when we hit that, we just kind of have a certain focus on that because a lot of folks aren't out here swinging.
Right.
And, when audiences get the opportunity to hear real swing, I mean, there's nothing like that. There's nothing, and people say, "Oh, swing is old school." And I have to quote my eldest brethren, Brandon, as I call him, when he said, they told him swing is old. And he said, "It ain't old to people who can swing." So
that's classic Branford.
Hey, so it's like, but I mean, that to me is the goal. That's the goal always is. And the other thing about music is you have to have faith in it. And what I found is like a lot of people don't have faith in jazz or in the swing. A lot of the musicians, the youngsters, it's like there's something that they want to do, but they don't have faith. And right. I take that from, I took my little brother Jason to study with Alan Dawson. One time he was 8 years old. He had come to Boston to play my recital. And I heard about Alan Dawson. And the one thing there's a couple of things I remember, but the one thing that stood out was Alan Dawson said to Jason, he said, "You have to play and practice your ride cymbal enough that you have the command that whatever drum set, whatever cymbal you're playing, when that stick hits the metal, it's going to produce the sound you want." Right. Like, I just remember so clearly him saying that, man, that had to be 40 years ago when he said that. But that's the truth. It's like, sometimes we're playing music and we just don't have faith. The great thing about pop artists, whether they're good or bad, or they sing in tune or out of tune, man, the majority of them have so much faith in what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They're not bogged down with the specifics of, okay, I don't know what a 13 is on the flat 9 chord. Mm-hmm. They're just like, and that's what we try to bring to the music. Like you have to, and you play with Art Blakey and Elvin and these fellas, they just had the most tremendous faith in the music and what they were doing, and the great belief. And I didn't really realize that at the time, and it's something that I've grown to appreciate and to understand over the years.
Yeah, and I think it's possible to have that. I think there's a lot of distractions in the world right now with kids coming up with it. Back then in the day, even when I got to New York, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, a lot of things. So we had each other. If you wanted to learn about the music, you had to physically go and find someone to give you that music, give you that skill set to go to a club and check it out. I've had students say, "Hey man, I Googled you. I know what you're about." And I'm like, in 5 minutes, you know what I'm about? It's the same thing with the music. Unless you sit down and you just lay into it and spend that time and fall in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
You fall in love with it, and then you could, you can make it happen all the time, man. That's just part of the process. I think the process is really, the process has changed because technology has changed, which is, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's all part of it. But having a faith, like you said, man, makes a big difference. But having fun is all part of it too. You hear popular music all the time, so it's easy. That's something you hear on the radio. You can imitate that right away. You don't hear jazz in that level, so jazz is something you have to like go find and then.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but let's be clear. The big problem, I shouldn't say the big problem, but I would say one of the challenges of the students that I face that are, quote, jazz students is that they don't love music. So you're saying, by which I'm saying, I could go to a jazz festival where they have all these college programs, and it'll be 20 instrumental soloists, most of whom sound the same, and it's not very advanced. And there could be 5 vocalists, all of whom sound way better than the soloists, but they sound better because if they're singing a Norah Jones song, they learn the Norah Jones the way she sings it. If they're singing a Beyonce song, so it's something to be said about that.
Right.
I try to encourage the students, man, to learn anything like off the record. Learn about, the solo that I'm telling the students to learn is just the two of us.
Right.
Man, what a great, I'm like, man, if you could play a solo that great, whatever song, if you want to do it on Giant Steps, or if you want to do it on Confirmation, or if you want to do something, if you can play a solo that is that memorable, where anybody could sing it, to me, that's the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is inclusivity. The goal has become exclusivity. The goal has become, hey man, I can play in 11 and you can't. I can play in 7 and you can't. I can play permutations of these hard chord progressions and you can't. And that's fine. It's fine to have that. But the real key, and we see this in all styles of music, if you go back to the classical idiom, it's really obvious. So many composers that compose with greater complexity than Stravinsky, but they did not have that understanding of what really illuminates about the human spirit. And those who can capture that, and it's, I don't know that there's necessarily one solution or one answer, right. But for the students, to me, that's an important thing. Like, why are we doing this? What is the end game? The end game is, how many people can you reach? How many people can you speak to? Whatever song it is.
Yeah.
Louis Armstrong should be the model and the goal. He shouldn't be like, man, we don't want to do that. It should be like, just like composers today, they're like, how can I get to what Bach and Beethoven was doing? No, you don't want to write like them. They've already written like that.
Right.
But how can what I present have the profundity and the level of understanding of these great composers? It's the same thing. It shouldn't be, okay, who do the people not like? It should be, who do the people like the most? Louis Armstrong. How do I get to that?
How do I get to that? Yeah.
Time for music.
It's great. And it's great to have that attitude and whatever you do, and you're definitely doing it, man. It's making a lot of sense. I hope our listeners are understanding what you're saying and checking you out. So you shared some music with us. You're talking about playing and making the folks feel good. You share some music with us. I want to check some of that out and share with our audience and jump into some of your profound improvisation and share your skill sets with our audience. So let's just play the first song and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Let's just check it out and then you tell us what it is afterwards. Okay.
Okay. What is? Pick a good one. Lord have mercy. What can you say about that?
So you talking about having a good time, huh?
My Lord, boy. That's the single greatest song we've ever recorded. And I don't foresee that we'll actually ever record something like that, because it was just the right time. It was, I guess, 2019. The band had been playing together for a while, and it incorporates so much. It's exactly what I wanted it to be.
Okay.
You know, I mean, there's so much that I can say about that. The first thing is it's a tribute to Mingus, and Wynton made a good point about Mingus, which is he would write parts in the meat and potatoes register of every instrument. So that was kind of the design. First of all, was I wanted the melodies right in the meat and potatoes of the tenor and the trombone range, and then we have like that half step crunch, which I always like in the melody. And then when the lead trumpet comes in, he's above everybody. And we got the trombone player who's playing with the harmonium, and they're talking, and that's the other part of it. So we have kind of I wanted to have the New Orleans counterpoint and polyphony that we hear often in the traditional New Orleans music, but in a modern context. So the great part, which I mean, boy, there's so much I can say about this tune. I love this tune. You know, the energy of it. First of all,
as you're saying that, man, I'm thinking this is like the New Orleans version of Boogie Stop Shuffle.
It is exactly. I mean, I wanted to write something that was going to represent Mingus, but you know, Mingus and Ornette Coleman, and I guess there's only a handful of Monk. There's only a handful of folks that I feel really stayed in the tradition, but were able to keep it real. Like they didn't represent the world like we would like it to be. They represented both that and how the world actually is.
Right.
It's rough. You know what I'm saying? It's like we see what's going on. There's a lot of rough things that we just kind of either don't want to admit to, or we just kind of look the other way at it, whatever that might be. So that was the idea. I wanted to capture that, to have something that had this very simple melodic line that was singable and memorable. But the great part about this is that we had to scrap the entire session. We had to, it's a long story, but we redid all of the songs. That's the only song from the original session that we kept, because, and we redid it. And I remember I sent both of them to Branford, and he listened to that version, and he's like, I don't need to hear the second version.
Yeah.
I was like, why not? He said, come on, man. And that was the end of that discussion. But the great thing about that I remember is that if you listen again to the sax solos, it had two saxophone players playing. And by the time they get to maybe their third chorus, I just start pointing to people and I'm saying, play something. So it's like it's building and the anticipation is building. And finally, we got everybody in the band is playing. It's not written out. You picked the right one, boy. That put me in a good mood, man. That song is like.
So tell our audience, what's the name of the song?
Oh, that song is "Raid on the Mingus House Party," and the "Raid on the Mingus House Party" from Jazz. That's it's just the signature song. And if you don't like jazz or whatever, man, that song there. And in fact, it's not so indicative of what most of what we do now is more R&B based. Like if you listen at the Mardi Gras tunes, but I need to try to get back to that. You know, there's a lot of history of things that we would make up songs. It's something that I learned that Duke Ellington would do, but he would do it with a trio. He would talk about a song, and then on the gig he would play a song, just he and the bass and drums, and that would be it. He would just start playing, and they would accompany him. There's a great movie about that. So that's an idea that I started, but I was like, man, I want to do it with the whole band. So throughout the years, we just make up songs. We just did that again last week. We hadn't done it in a long time because it's kind of a difficult proposition. We got a CD called Make America Great Again. And how it happened to be, we asked the audience what they wanted us to recreate. What did we want? They wanted to put in the musical terms. And somebody said, Make America Great Again. So it was simple, kind of a simple design. I said, okay, we're going to start off with more of a old 1920s vaudeville, kind of a slapstick kind of a sound. And from there, we're going to go to an A minor blues. So it's an E flat, and then it goes to A minor. And that was the idea. And man, we just made the song up on the spot live, and it ended up being kind of the title track, which is another whole story. But yeah, that to me, that captures what the band is all about. It's all about
it's a fun-loving band, man. Man, it's party time. Party time. You got some great comments, man, but I want to keep going because, time is an issue here. An hour goes by real quick, but classic song, song from New Orleans. You don't know what it means to miss New Orleans. This is another song that you shared with us, and let's check this out, and then we'll talk about it after.
All right.
So it's kind of jazz I would listen to at Sunday brunch at the Court of Three Sisters. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that I mean, that is for me, it's my best solo. Love the trumpet solo. Oh, they must be talking about Raid on the Mingus House Party.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, Kalamazoo was it was an important date for me. Live performance with my dad, and you know, the fact that it even occurred, to try to make a long story rather short, we had a tour and we were in Boise, Idaho on a Wednesday, and then we had to be in Kalamazoo on Friday. Well, Thursday, I had promised Mondre Moffitt, who is a great trumpeter and is the brother of Trinette Moffitt, that I would come to North Carolina A&T in Greensboro on the Thursday. So I got a flight from Boise to Greensboro. I played their concert, North Carolina A&T, Thursday night. The next morning, Friday morning, it's like there was one flight at like 6:30 or 7 that got me into Kalamazoo. I got to Kalamazoo at about 8. I landed maybe about 8 o'clock or so. We had a 9 o'clock kids show. So I went straight to the auditorium. We did the kids show. In addition to that, Marvin Smitty Smith was on the tour. That was the one date he couldn't make. I brought in Ralph Peterson. So it's even though he's not on that track, it's Ralph Peterson on drums, Reginald Veals on bass, and then my dad. And I got there somehow, and then we did the children's concert. So then we had the concert that night. Well, the request was made, could they record the first 2 songs for NPR? It was some kind of NPR sort of thing. And I said, yeah, of course. And lo and behold, they recorded the entire concert. And then when I heard it, it was like, this is it.
Yeah.
You never know when it's going to happen, when the magic's going to happen. And for me, just the magic happened that night. And you know, my dad, we had at least one. I think that was the last encore. It was the last encore. And I just, usually we had been playing, there was another song that we had been playing, but I just said, man, let's just do this one. And it ended up being memorable. You know, that to me is if somebody says, okay, what song that I'm playing on, I would recommend it would be that. I mean, that just kind of tells you who I am, that song.
Beautiful solo, man. Can you tell our audience because your sound changed, and I think that comment that the person mentioned, trumpet solo, your sound changed. You played open bell, and then you played.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. Oh, so that's a thing called the harmon mute,
Right.
which I have in the other room. So the harmon mute, it's, if you know the old Charlie Brown, and the teacher would talk and they say wah 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 wah. Well, that was a plunger mute. The plunger mute sounds more. It's a darker sound. The wah wah sound. I see why they say they love the trumpet. Okay, actually,
yeah.
Because it does have more. Make it sound like it's in more higher register. It's similar to the plunger mute in terms of having that wah wah, but it's called a wah wah mute. And I just played it like that, and it just gives it's a great effect to change the kind of the mood. So we started off with the open horn, and then I put the wah wah in, and that kind of makes it a little softer too.
Right. It's a different effect. So as you play, and I mean, so like when you put in a mute or you use a plunger, it's a different technique. What do you adjust to play that way? What
I don't use a plunger, man. I don't. I leave that to cats that can play it. No, that's just something I never could get a hold of.
Yeah.
The wah wah is, and I like the sound of the wah wah better. I like more of an edge.
Okay.
But I've studied with people like Al Gray, who's one of the all-time greats and one of my favorite personalities on the horn, and he could really play with the plunger. But it's not. That's
not your thing.
No, the thing, I mean, studying with Al Gray, and he had a technique that he used, and even though it's not the plunger, it's a similar technique. And then went and gave me the best advice that I had about playing it, which is he said, when you play with a plunger or a wah wah, you don't do it all the time. Like you don't wah 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 wah. You don't do that. So like I'm doing it very infrequently, but it's very effective that way.
Right.
So we say I'd say wah 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 wah, as opposed to wah 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 wah. It's like after a while, I'd be like, okay, we get the point.
I hear you. That's good, man. Well, this is a beautiful song, man. Beautiful duet with you and your father, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
The next song you shared with us is "Just Squeeze Me," and I think this is a live recording of you doing that.
Did you get to the video that I just?
I think we pulled it off.
It's long. It's a long one, man. So you can cut through it, but it's fun. Make sure you just get to the ending of it. But it's kind of, we did this in the studio, Minions Dominion. I forgot I had these videos, and literally last night I was like, wait a minute, I've got these videos. So I cut together. You'll hear when it changes. Maybe it's the live actual recording in the studio from the camera. And then I edited that with the actual studio recording. So it's 9 minutes though, so we're not gonna make all of that.
Well, let's check it out. Let's just see what we got.
All right.
Oh. Man, that's some classic stuff, bro.
Oh yeah, that was good. Y'all caught me snoozing. I thought it was gonna go to the end. Yeah, so the great part of that is at the end of we finished the song, and Branford says, "Let's do one more." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "What? You got something else to do?" I'm like, No. And he says, "Play one more." And as I listened back at it, we didn't hear it, but he only wanted to do another take because he didn't like the way that he sounded playing the bridge, the melody on the bridge, because he really didn't know the melody as well as he wanted to. Mm-hmm. As I listen back at it, I see it now. I said, that's why he wanted to play another one. But rather than say that, say, hey, so when we played it the last time, you can kind of see I'm constantly looking over to see what he's doing. And if he's just sitting there, I said, okay, I got to take it. So I'm looking to see, okay, is he going to play? And when it came time to play the bridge, he just was sitting there. And I said, okay,
you got it.
He didn't want to play the bridge. But it really brings back such great memories. And, I miss being to be around those level of musicians is the greatest thing. Because it's just, a multi-generational is always, to me, it can provide the greatest results. And then Elvin was just so supportive. And you can see he's always kind of taking survey of what's going on and trying to figure out how to be helpful. He didn't really know much. He didn't know much about, Branford or my relationship with Branford. So I think he's trying to peep out because, Elvin comes from 10. He's got a bunch of brothers and sisters. So, but it was just great. It's great. Branford is just, I love being in the studio with him. And I haven't had an opportunity, actually went and came in on one of my records, but to have them on my recording is great because they tell you like it is, man. And it's like, it can be hardcore. And I love it. I got another clip where I see Branford takes over his little brother's session, which is what he does. He's like, no, man, it sounds terrible. I'm like, man, what's wrong with that? He's like, everything. Everything's wrong with it.
Well, man, it was a great session, bro, because you had Mulgrew Melton, the great Elvin Jones. I mean,
yeah, it was great. And the thing that I learned the most is to always be open to, like Bob Hurst. And I gave Bob Hurst producer credit on my first CD on Pontius Pilate's Decision because he just gave me the greatest advice. I was playing the song Barabbas. It's just B flat. It's open one chord. And we played a take. And then Bob said to me, he said, man, you're making it too difficult. He said, just hook up a couple of themes, develop them, and get it over with. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to play everything I know. And it's like, man, that next take, it was like, that's the key. That's the key to playing on. You playing on a song, it's just one change. Mm. Some people think, man, I got to play everything I know, but it's like you just hook up a couple of themes, you develop them. But when Bob's on that recording, actually, it's Eric Rivas is on that particular song. Bob Hurst was on that session with Elvin.
Okay,
and of course Mulgrew Miller. So, man, I appreciated it. You spending the time. You brought back some great memories.
Oh man, thanks for sharing, man. I just create a platform, bro. You bring the information and the material and the entertainment and the knowledge. So
you got it going, man. I appreciate you, keeping everything happening. And
likewise, man. Likewise. You shared one more song with us, and I would really love for our audience to hear it. I know we're pushing the time, but we could squeeze one more in. You down for it? Yeah,
I can't remember what it is, but okay.
Oh, the Weary Ways of Mary Magdalene.
Oh, the Weary Ways. Yeah. Okay, the Weary Ways. That's from the Pontius Pilate session. Yeah. Okay, let's go.
All right, let's check it out.
Oh Lord have mercy. Oh man, talk about a funny session.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So that I forgot about all of that. So I called Whitney in for the session, and at first he wasn't going to do it. I mean, he had a lot of his own things that he was doing, but then the first session I had, Wes Anderson and those guys were on it. So that was my first recording, Pontius Pilot's Decision. And what I wanted it to be was a combination of Branford's band at the time, which was Kenny Kirkland, Bob Hurst, and Jeff Tain Watts. Wynton's band at the time, Marcus Roberts, Herlin Riley, Reginald Veal, and then my own band, which I had Mark Turner, Mark Gross, Victor Red Atkins, Jason, and I think we didn't have the little brother Jason, and then we didn't have the drummer at that. So at any rate, that's the whole session is this combination of musicians. So Wynton comes in for this song, and I can't remember if I played whatever I think we said 3 choruses, and then I think the other piano and sax played 2 choruses. And I know I was going to give Wynton a little leeway. So I don't know if I said 3, he could play 3 or whatever, but he was in the groove, man. So we let him play. He actually played 2 more choruses after that because in the middle of his solo. Can't understand. Okay. In the middle of his solo, you can hear Herlin goes back to the groove because we were supposed to play the melody right there.
Right. Yeah.
Looking around, and it's like he just keeps playing, and we're all like, how are we gonna come up? So I remember after that, I said, man, that solo's too long, man. We got to do another one. And he kept saying, man, I don't know, man. You sure you want to do another one? I was like, man, we got to do another one. The solo's too long. So the next tune we played, he played the weakest solo imaginable because he said he knew it wasn't no way possible I was going to put that on the record. Putting around. He kept saying, man, you better go check that other solo. And then I edited that solo. It was like, it might not have been hours. It was a while because I kept trying to figure out how can I cut this solo off. And eventually, I think I did cut a solo, a chorus or 2 choruses off because finally he stopped. And by the time he stopped, the rhythm section played long. Anyway, man, that's just great memories, man. I really loved the music back then because it was more raw, I think. That was, I like the idea of my recording just having a raw sound. It's not like too much of the processing and you're in the studio. And even like I said, I believe in technology. So we used as much technology as we could, but always to get that kind of a feeling that you're in the room as it's happening with all the musicians. So
great music and great story.
Oh man. And Marcus, right? It's funny. It's like when you hire these musicians, that's the key. Is the difficulty about the big band, or is not having the musicians around that can just be critical and add certain things. Usually, you have everything arranged and you go in and you play it. Unless it's a situation where I'm doing that, I'm just saying, hey man, just start playing. But for example, Marcus Roberts came to sit in with me on this song, and he started the ching at the top end of the piano. Well, that's the signature of the whole song.
Right.
Is that when we first played it at a gig, I had no idea that that's what was supposed to happen.
Right.
And of course, Reginald Veal. I mean, man, it's just great times. It was great.
Great. Well, and you shared a lot of information, great music, great stories. It's just a pleasure having you on the show, man. I know we went over. We appreciate you sticking around with us and hanging out, and just sharing a wonderful time with us, man. Great comments from our listeners, folks around the world checking you out, man. So, Delfeayo, man, it's really been a pleasure and an honor having you on the show, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you sooner than later.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. We wish you all the best, lots of success in all the endeavors. Keep us updated, and we look forward to having you back in the future.
Yes, sir. I'm available next week. All right, I'll catch you later.
Take care, bro. We'll talk, man. That's Delfeayo Marsalis, man. Great music, great stories, man. Wonderful stuff. It was just a good time, man, to be had. Great music again, and So join us next week as we bring to the sounds of the diaspora young talent, gentlemen doing some wonderful things. The great Alfonso Horn, as he joined us. and share his story and music with us next week at Sounds of the Diaspora, man. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys, sharing some music, having fun, having a good laugh, and we see you next week. All right, take care.